Okay, wonderful. Welcome to the Pearl and the Echo podcast. I am Jim. We have my companion Dori, and Dori's going to bring us a wonderful quote today. But before we start, as always, let's stop for a moment and just take 3 deep breaths in your own time. It's amazing how such a simple thing helps you to be really present and here. And last one. And instead of going into the mind again, let's stay really present and in the body and feel this as Dori shares with us this week's quote. Go for it.
Amazing. So this week's quote is by Audre Lorde, and it goes like this: caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. So I'll tell you a little bit about Audre Lorde. She was born in 1934, lived until 1992, and was a Caribbean American writer, feminist, and described herself as a kind of a warrior. She identified as Black lesbian mother warrior poet. Really incredible person in history, a librarian, a professor, really blending activism and her incredible knowledge to support the civil rights movement and to talk about things like intersectionality, which, wasn't even a term back then. And so really inspiring individual. I encourage everyone to learn more about her. But today we're going to focus on the quote. So I'll say it one more time. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. For me, this quote is really important because it's really easy to not take care of ourselves. I find myself taking care of everything else but me, the chores, other people, all of the trappings of modern life, working and driving around, getting groceries and responding to friends who are in need or who are going through a tough time. And so it can become very easy to forget yourself in all of that. And so it does feel sometimes like, okay, I'm going to take this hour to make art. And that can feel self-indulgent, even though it's what I need to be my best self and to make sure that I'm showing up for all of those things in my life in the best way. You could feel guilty about it. I feel like society teaches us to, especially Western society, to produce and produce and produce and to get better and better and better. And some of that can be good, but we need breaks. We need to rest. We need to listen to our bodies. And if your body is saying, no, I don't want to, run 10K today, or I don't want to have that difficult conversation that I know is waiting for me today because I don't think I can show up to it properly, then we have to give ourselves that grace to step back and say, okay, maybe I'm going to do that tomorrow, or I'm going to go for a walk to take care of myself. I'm going to stretch so that I'm not in pain. I'm going to put the remote down, put the phone down, and just maybe listen to a piece of music, or even better, play an instrument, however badly, and just fill your cup. Because in these times, and we're recording this kind of in early March, it can feel like that is an act of political warfare because we're in these cogs in these systems that are just crumbling before our eyes. And so taking the time to take care of yourself, but then also be in community is just so important. So I've been trying to do a better job at taking care of myself. Doctor's orders, and I'm a very bad patient. But I wanted to bring the quote because I know I'm not alone in that, in being a bad patient. How is the quote landing with you, Jim?
Yeah. It's funny because I just had a conversation quite similar to this with a client. Well, I just want to pick out the word preservation. Why would I need to preserve myself? I would need to preserve myself if I'm of value. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, I'm just like all the other people and no one cares. And we live in this intensely consumerism-based society where nothing matters. We're all just kind of cows grazing in a field, and then they put us in a different field. But if I can conserve myself, then I can conserve my values, and I can conserve my vision, or how I see the world, or what I believe to be true, or what I believe to be right. Because there is this thing of self-care can kind of have this idea of self-indulgence, like I'm selfish, like, well, yeah, there's all these terrible things happening in the world, and you're not even watching the news. But if you watch the news, it just fries your brain, and it's all very sensationalist anyway. So you sit and watch the news, and it's even scripted to make you hang on the kind of perpetual cliffhanger of wanting more and wanting more until your nervous system just dies, and then, right, I'm burning out. So I like the undercut. I like the kind of the rebellious political undercurrent of, I'm preserving the fact that I see this life or this world in a very specific way. And if I can not lose that or throw it away, maybe I can share it with one person and help them carry the torch that I'm holding. That's what it feels like she's saying to me. It's not a kind of, FUCK at the man or the system.
Yeah.
The system has always been like the system. There have been empires for thousands of years. This isn't the last one. There's going to be more. There will always be those power-hungry, usually men, generally pretty much all the time men, who want to quash society and have power. So I can give up to that, or I can do my little self-care and then go back to that, or I can say, no, I maintain my values. That's what it's. I like the ballsiness of that.
Mm-hmm. I'm picturing when you started to ask, why do I need to preserve myself? I was just picturing, like, I don't know, us in like a pickle jar or something like that. It's very Slavic of me to say. But I agree with you. It's a bit more than the surface act of self-care itself. You have to figure out what those activities are for you, and that can take time. That can take and it can change, and it's part of our life's work to figure out what makes us feel good and what is that self-care. In Western society, there's always this trope of like, oh, well, take a bath, light some candles, and you'll feel better. But maybe you don't like to take baths. Maybe you're more of a shower person, and maybe that's just not it for you. Maybe you need to call a friend or cook a meal, have a cup of tea. There's so many things. And you can start small, especially if you feel like you don't have time. Start small and go from there. But it does feel like it's more than just the acts, because the acts then open you up to have that capacity to dream up a different future, dream up a scenario that isn't so oppressive, that doesn't feel like we're all wage slaves and just, trying to get the next promotion and get more money and buy a bigger house. There's great research out there that shows that once you hit a certain salary income, your happiness no longer is impacted by money. It's actually all up to you. And so once you have kind of that cost of living, amount where you feel secure, it's up to you, which is why you see people who have millions of dollars and they're unhappy.
Yeah. Or they just go insane, or they start doing kind of ridiculous things. There's a little bit of an underlying seething, inciting violence in this, because so I actually take care of myself, because the modern system is someone else will take care of you, and somebody else will educate you, and somebody else will employ you, and you're just like a chicken that we pick up and put here, and then it lays eggs, and then we put it somewhere else and lays eggs over and over again. You like you say, no, okay, I'm really going to look after myself. I'm going to look after this. I'm going to take care of Jim. I'm going to take care of what Jim puts in his mind. I'm not going to watch endless stuff on social media. I'm going to really take care of myself and eat well and all these things. I was talking to somebody who's a nursery school teacher, and he was just telling me how he just tells stories all day, and he just loves the fact that he just gets to tell stories all day. So then you could be arriving with a hangover, being exhausted, being frazzled by the news, or just exhausted by the sensationalism of life, or you can really take care of yourself and get to school and sit down with those kids and tell them that story in a way that impacts them, instead of in a way where you have to tell a story because you're a nursery school teacher, as an example.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the words of the story, it's how you deliver them as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I have the power to guide existence, my own existence, but existence as well, to a degree, don't I?
Yeah, and the existence of those around you as
Yeah.
well, to an extent. I like all the, like, farm animal
Cows to chickens.
metaphors, cows, chickens. I can't wait for the next one. I think it comes down to perception of what you need in that moment. What are you ignoring? I think a lot of us are sleepwalking through life
Mm,
and are going through the motions because somebody told us to. Like we were raised to do these things, get the job, get married, have kids, buy the house, buy the car, and just like churn it out. And it's not for everyone. That life, that recipe, the cookie cutter lifestyle is not for everyone. And that's okay. You can make your own path, and there's going to be obstacles. And so figuring out how to take care of yourself, especially when times are really tough and you face real challenges, whether it's job loss, divorce, health issues, having that toolkit of what makes me feel good or what do I need, it's crucial. It can be life-changing and life-saving. So I encourage our audience to sit with this one, because this is the quote of our times. I think it's going to be the quote of all times. I think it's one of those
yeah.
timeless pieces of advice, because there's always going to be someone that wants something from you and
Yeah.
wants to extract, right? Like if we look at how we're treating the planet, where we're just extracting and extracting, and now we're treating people the same. I mean, we've always treated people that way as well, where we're just trying to extract and extract. And you have to remind yourself to put something back in to your own system, because of how much that is happening. And you have to remind everyone around you to put back things into their system, and on your own, but also in community, and let's give that to ourselves. Let's give that to each other so
Yeah.
that we can keep going.
Yeah, and the way you do the way that you do that for other people is by being an example for them, and the taking care of yourself is the kind of pampering of oneself, but it's also the kind of disciplining oneself. Of the no, I go to the gym because I need to have a strong body, because I need to have a good mindset. It's the no, I wake up every day at 6 a.m. and write for an hour because that's the kind of person I am. And in that, then I live in a certain way. Then maybe other
Mhm.
people go, hold on a minute. Oh, right. I can live in that way. And I can, like Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. There is
Mhm.
no meaning until you make some meaning.
Yeah.
But if you're not in a fit state to make any meaning, the meaning that you make is just a mess. I know there's so many meanings in that one sentence, but you know what I mean? Now it's like,
Yeah.
you to be able to do something useful for humanity, you've got to be in a good state. Like her, just reading about her a little bit and hearing those words, you can tell there was an internal power in that
Mhm.
person,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the way she lived.
Yeah, and the power of the word, right? Because
Mm,
she used her words to confront all sorts of injustices when it comes to race and
mm,
gender and sexuality. And that's huge. And that doesn't have to be your purpose, but figuring out what your specific purpose is is part of this, right? And how can you do that if you're burnt out, if you're depleted, if you're in some cases working for someone else and working for maybe something you don't believe in, or you're just working so that you can pay your bills. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that there's something wrong with that. I'm saying if that's where you find yourself, then it's even more important that you
Yeah.
fill your cup if you're coming home from a job that you don't like, or that feels draining or isn't aligned with your values. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Can you read it for us one more time?
of course I can. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare, by Audre Lorde.
Amazing. Wow. Wow. Thank you. Well, I really hope that touched where it needed to touch in you, the listener. Send us a message or a comment, or let us know how that one landed with you, and hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And always remember to like and subscribe wherever you
Absolutely.
listen to this, on Apple or YouTube or wherever else.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Pearl and the Echo podcast with me, Dori Sim, and my co-host, Jim Rajan. Thank you to Rebel Mixtape Productions for editing this episode. If you like what you heard, like, subscribe, and share with those in your life that matter most.